Get to the root of the dissatisfaction amongst the West Ham supporters. We're joined by Matt Lawless, Dan Silva and Dave Walker. You're all here journalistically speaking, but you're also here as West Ham fans as well. Matt, how would you sum up the attitude to the West Hams, to the players, the board, the new managers? Where do they think the root of the problem is?
Well, I think you can hear it outside. There's a lot of negativity. I think a lot of it stems from the stadium, unfortunately. But, you know, it comes with the territory. West Ham are in 18th position without a win in 5 games.
What do you think, Dan, is the issue with the board in terms of the West Ham fans? Because from the outside, fans of other clubs may look and think, we have a new stadium, we spend money on players, we keep our managers at least until it gets desperate, as David Sullivan said. So what's the issue?
Sure, and I think if this season was playing out at Upton Park, I think everyone would be chalking it off to, well, it's the West Ham way, you know, we go up, we go down. But we're not at Upton Park, we're here. Our ground was sold from beneath us on the express promise it would take us to the next level, it would take us to the Champions League, or at least Europe every season. They weren't my words, they were the chairman's words. So everything that happened since then has to be judged by that contract. And everything that's happened since then has been a shambles.
Dave, do you understand as a West Ham fan the frustrations that lots of your fellow fans have?
Yeah, I do. Listen, it's a horrible time to be a West Ham fan at the moment. You know, the fans especially are creating such a toxic, exhausting atmosphere. And listen, you know, at the moment the fans hate the board, they hate the manager, they hate the players, and they hate each other. So it's a really, really stressful time to be a West Ham fan. Of course I understand it. I mean, you know, when you're talking about, you know, the promises or plans that they've made for Champions League football, I think you've got to look at it logically and put it into perspective. 18 months ago, just 18 months ago, we were 3 games away from qualifying for the Champions League. If we'd have won our last 3 games at the Boleyn, we'd been playing in the Champions League last season. So you have to put it into perspective, you know, and a pivotal part of that crucial season at the Boleyn was Slaven Bilic. Now, the board didn't have a crystal ball at the time and understood that Slaven Bilic would then fall apart as a manager for the next 18 months. So we've got a rebuilding process going on.
Listen, users, fans, a lot of West Ham fans, do you think that was reality in terms of thinking of Champions League? Or, listen, I'm from outside West Ham. I don't think that's reality in terms of West Ham being in the Champions League and challenging for the Champions League year in, year out because you come to a new stadium.
Of course it's not a reality, but that's the vision we were sold. That was the basis why we all said, yes, we'll move stadiums. So that's why there's the bad feeling. But I think the thing that really upsets most fans is there's no sign of a plan. When Gold Sullivan took over in 7 years ago, they said they had a 7-year plan to get to the Champions League. We've seen no sign of that, and we're close at the Championship in the Champions League. 2 years ago, we come in here, we're going to go to the next level. It takes more than saying we're going to the next level to get to the next level. There needs to be long-term planning, there needs to be a philosophy in place, and there's no evidence of any of that at this club.
But are you suggesting that the owners shouldn't have followed through with a move to a brand new stadium? When you think of Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea now look at a new stadium, Manchester City have had a new stadium. A lot of the top clubs have gone down that route of, if you like, improving the stadium over the last 10, 15 years. You're surely not saying that it was the right thing to stand still and stay where you were, as good a ground as it was.
Absolutely not, but I think there needs to be a plan behind that move. You can't just come to a stadium like this and think, because we're in a big stadium, we're going to get big players, we're going to get success. You need to plan behind the scenes. And there's no evidence of that going on at this football club, and that's why people are angry.
What's the single biggest change that you'd like to make at this club that you think could have the biggest impact to get it where you want it to be?
I think we need to re-establish our roots as an academy of football. You know, you've got to look over the years, some of the fantastic players who come through, homegrown players, and there's a real detachment at the moment with the academy and the first team. They train at separate training bases at the minute. So that's one thing that David Moyes, I'm sure he'll address if he stays in the job for the long term. But for me as a supporter, you want to see young players coming through, homegrown players, and then we can add in decent players who are proven at this level.
Is there a fear tonight for you this crowd could really turn?
Massively, massively. I mean, the crowd are doing it. Now, whether it's frustration with the players because they're not giving 110%, and that's one thing that West Ham fans won't accept. We've never accepted that. We'll accept defeats, but as long as you give your heart to the football club and you play for that badge. At the moment, they're not doing either. They're not giving their performances or their heart. So it is frustrating. At the moment, it's very, very easy to jump on their backs. Now, my worst case scenario here tonight is that we concede an early goal, because what will happen is the fans who are already ready to lynch on those players will boo every pass, misplaced pass after 20 minutes, every missed opportunity, and before you know it, we've got that toxic atmosphere that the players will feed off of, and it will have a negative impact. And it could be 3 or 4 if we concede early.
The worst case scenario is they get frostbite.
But do you know what? I have to say, my ankles are like West Ham's defence, massively exposed.
He's tried every pair of underpants and socks as a superstition. competition, and he's gone with no socks tonight.
Yeah,
will that make a difference?
Well, I don't know, maybe not them, but my pants will. I won't put them on camera.
You've got leaders out there on this pitch, though. You've got Zabaleta, Reed, Hart. Obviously, Noble's on the bench tonight. Carroll, why are they not doing what they should be for the club? I know, look at the owners, the coach, the manager, everybody else. What about the players?
Well, the players have to take responsibility, of course, but I think the whole atmosphere around the place is wrong. The setup appears to be wrong. The philosophy appears to be wrong. If you pointed at Slaven Bilic's team last season and said, how did we play? No one could tell you. There was there's no ethos to the team. Were we a counter-attacking team? Were we a possession team? Were we a pacey team? We couldn't tell from one game to the next. And I'm sure the players didn't know from one game to the next. Half of them, you could tell, didn't know what they were meant to be doing on the pitch. And that's pervaded the club, and there needs to be a kind of root and branch detoxification of the entire setup.
Matt, what are your fears for this season?
Look, it's early. There are 26 games left to play, so I think the important thing tonight is that, you know, the whole club really sort of unites behind the team, from the fans' perspective, but also the players. There's been some good changes made today, I think, after Masuaku coming in on the left wing. Should inject some pace, so I think we have to be positive and we have to give David Moyes a chance, but, you know, the real fear, of course, is relegation, but I don't think that's going to happen.